Hi, I'm Sarah Wicker. I go to the College of William & Mary and I'm a senior this year, so I'll be graduating in the class of 2023. I'm a studio art major with a data science minor. And I don't particularly have a medium of choice. I like to think that the story I'm telling dictates the medium I pick. But right now I'm taking ceramics, I've taken sculpture courses in the past, so I have a background in bronze and steel as well as charcoal and painting. How I got involved in art is a very funny and complicated story. I'm a first generation college student, so I actually didn't particularly imagine myself going to college. I went to Gloucester High School, which is incredibly local to the Williamsburg area, and yeah, none of my family had been to college. I didn't know how to navigate the system. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I had a lot of support from my family, and if you want to go, we'll get you there, and if you don't want to go, we'll figure out a plan B. So it really came down to what I wanted, which has been the best part of college, I think, because there's so many of my peers that feel pressured to do certain tracks in their life or go certain ways into business or economics, things like that. And I had some fantastic teachers at the high school who helped me figure out what I was doing and apply to scholarships, how to take the SAT, what were these deadlines. And so I ended up at William & Mary, and I actually was doing computer science and math. And I thought, well, if I'm first generation, I need to get a good job. Who knows what that is, though. And I applied to this project with two of my friends. I work at Swim Library as well on campus. And it was an augmented reality mural that was going on. It was a large competition in Williamsburg City. And somehow we won. And we ended up doing this mural project for over a year. And while I was doing that, the pandemic was happening. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was starting to learn what I didn't want to do. And the answer was I didn't want to do a desk job, and I was really struggling being on a computer all day and not having a lot of interaction with people. And I met Steve Prince while doing the mural, and I was more involved in the art department. I was always taking art classes at the school since my freshman year. And the more time I spent on this mural, the more I was realizing this is what I want to do. I want to be doing this larger community project. I want to be making art. I was the main art lead, so I was doing a lot of the design, the composition, the color choices, implementing the actual making of the mural at the end of the day. And I did get to use some of my computer science background as well, which is why I switched to a minor in data science and a major in art at the end of my sophomore year. I think my work in this show is mainly focused around the body. It wasn't until the end of my junior year where I really felt comfortable enough in my skill set to begin developing a theme in my work or working towards a general idea in my work. I've taken both the figure drawing classes, life drawing courses at William & Mary, and those have taught me so much about observational drawing. And that's not to not give credit to my painting classes teaching about color and light, but that was the class where I realized how much I enjoyed drawing the figure, the expressiveness of the figure, and everything that it can convey. And then going into my senior year was when Roe v. Wade was overturned. And there was a lot of conversation happening around my autonomy and my rights as just simply being a woman. And regardless of where you stand on that, being a woman in that regard, it's very disconcerting to be told what you can and can't do with your body and how your body should look and what is the perfect body. And I kind of just realized my whole life as a woman, I've been told from a variety of different sources how I should look and how I should act. And that coming from my family and the church and the public education system and my peers. And not all these things are negative, but they are definitely things that I was reflecting on during that time period because of this political influence. So I think a lot of my work in this show specifically involves around the body because of that. I have a charcoal drawing, which is right here. And that drawing for me was just a study, but it's very intimate and was something that my roommate was willing to do for me to then look at, and this idea of a woman not looking at the viewer and what does that mean when I am not confronting you about observing me and how you are interpreting my body. Another piece I did was this stretched dress form, and while that dress to me is very personal and has a specific story attached to it, it became more about the skin and how I'm stretching to fit a certain mold and how a lot of women are feeling that way. And What is being desired of me? Am I feminine enough? Do I not want to be feminine? What does that mean when I'm confronting my gender role? And my last piece is this bronze piece based off the Venus of Willendorf, and it is my mom and I. Both of our figures come merged into one. And this idea of, I come from my mom, I'm from a lineage of women, what does that mean to me? But also, if I'm from my mom, there's this sense of I've taken something from her. And how does she feel about that? That to be a mother, I have to take something from her, and at some point, we aren't the same person, and where does that divide happen? And so for me, making that as this like talisman of respect to my mother and honoring my mother, and then also thinking about how we're similar and how we're different and what she's taught me. Very, very complex in my mind, but I'm sure it's a feeling a lot of young women can relate to, is their relationship with their mothers and what does that mean to them. I mean, recently I've been pulling a lot from nature, the sense of like the organic and the chaotic, like that for me has been incredibly liberating. And like again, spending time in nature is spending time with the self, and there's this sense of empowerment if I feel comfortable with myself and spending time alone in that silence. And that's different every day. Sometimes I go out there and I have music on or whatever, but I've been drawing a lot from nature in that regard, and I've been drawing a lot from the body, and I think those two overlap frequently. It becomes in ways where I go into the landscape and observe it, and then the body becomes a landscape, or vice versa. I look at the figure long enough, I see the repetitive organic forms in nature. So then it becomes in very different ways about the surface, or the lighting, or the tension, and those can be unique to each. So I think my inspiration comes from critical observation and reflection on my own moral values. I have been incredibly privileged to have applied to a variety of different things in the last year or so into my junior year. I think into junior year because that's when I started taking my art career seriously, and I thought, well, now's the time to take risks and let me submit things out there, see what the response is, ask jurors what they like, what they don't like, and thankfully it's been very, very positive from them, and I was accepted into a handful of shows. But this show is special because it's with my peers. Having gone to college in the pandemic, there are a lot of moments that have been taken away from us, but in return, we've cultivated our own moments. And being a part of this and looking around and seeing what we've all worked towards in our own individual ways and the way that we can support each other is the best feeling ever. Like, there's one thing to show and know that in Ohio, like, you have a piece. It's another thing to be incredibly local and have your family show up and have all of your best friends here. And it's been incredibly liberating as a first-gen student to be like, this is what I want to do, and I don't care if I'm good at it. I have felt more value in who I am through making things and just like spending time with myself and feeling empowered and being like, I love myself. And you know why I love myself? Because I spend 3 to 5 hours a day in silence with myself, and I'm comfortable with it and I'm happy with it. And I don't know if my work necessarily reflects that, but to me, when I look at it, it reflects that.